Okay, friends, today is Monday, November 2nd, and we are going to be working in Module 2, Unit 1, Lesson 9 of your Animal Defense Mechanisms module. Here's our learning target. I can write a summary of Fight to Survive, including the main idea and supporting details. We're going to start by working in Venom today. We're going to read pages 77 and 78 together. We are going to then discuss these questions. What does the diagram tell us? The diagram is on page 77, and I will have it up on the screen for you momentarily. How does it help us understand the text better? And what do you know about the hydra from the diagram you wouldn't know from the text? All right, so let's pull that up, 77 and 78 of Venom. Okay, so this is 77. Plant or animal, you decide. So these are some different plants and animals. So you need to decide which one's which. This is the sundew, the water lily, the sea anemone, the pitcher plant, and the sea urchin. Okay, now the answers here are the sea anemone and the sea urchin are animals. The sundew, the pitcher plant are carnivorous plants that feed on insects, and the water lily is a lovely and non-carnivorous flower. This is the diagram I was referring to earlier, hydrophobia. This is the hydra that it's talking about. It's a small freshwater relative of the sea anemone. Another synhydrin with stinging tentacles. It eats tiny creatures such as water fleas and insect larvae and is no danger to large animals. So there it is right there. You can see its buds and its tentacles. In Greek mythology, the hydra was a many-headed monster. If you cut off one head, two would grow in its place. Though our little hydra friend can reproduce through the mating of male and female, it can also do so by budding with no male required, just as corals can. Budded baby hydras grow right out of their mother's sides. A hydra can have as many as 4 buds, which turn into offspring, and no beheading is required. Okay, so there's the diagram. All right, let's read these pages. Flowers that aren't. Reefs are rather like apartment houses, and a lot of their tenants are venomous. Venom is a powerful weapon for protection and hunting when there's no such competition for food and space. When there's so much competition. Many types of sea anemones live on reefs. These strange relatives of coral look like flowers, but they are animals and they can sting. Sea anemones can creep or float, but most of the time they don't move. They are found in oceans all around the world in both deep and shallow water, clinging to rocks, shells, coral, sand, and shipwrecks. Each sea anemone is a synhydrin with a thick body topped by a mouth surrounded by a ring of fleshy nematocyst-covered tentacles. Most species have nematocysts that are too weak to penetrate human skin, but some, such as the branching anemone and the fire anemone, can sting people, and their venom causes itching, burning, swelling, and severe pain. That there at the bottom is a sea anemone. Finding Nemo. That guy is a clownfish, as I'm sure you know. A few animals eat sea anemones. Many others avoid them, but not anemone fishes, such as this clownfish famous in the animated film Finding Nemo. Clownfishes and their relatives live in the anemones, feeding on algae and plankton. These fish have a thick coating of mucus that makes them immune to the anemone's stings. Some anemone fish have a specific type of anemone as their partner. Others visit several varieties of anemones. The fish are protected by the synhydrins, and though no one is sure what the anemones get in return, it is possible that the fish protect them by chasing away predators. There are 2 current theories about how and where anemone fish get its mucus covering. This one is right here. We're coming up here. One is acclimatization. The fish swims for hours among the anemone's tentacles, making brief contact, receiving non-lethal stings, and smearing the mucus from the cnidaria onto its own body. A second theory states that the mucus comes from the fish, and it lacks an element that causes the anemone to fire its nematosis. Both theories may be true. For anemone fish that visit several species of anemones, the acclimatization theory makes sense. For anemone fish that have just one host, the mucus theory may be more relevant. I have an anemone and I know how to use it. Another critter that doesn't fear sea anemones is the hermit crab. Unlike other crabs, hermits don't have their own shell-like coverings. They slip into the abandoned shells of mollusks, soft-bodied shell-making animals such as snails and whelks. Several types of hermit crabs gather sea anemones and stick them to their shells for protection. The anemones may benefit by getting leftover scraps of the crab's food. A single crab may wear as many as 6 anemones on its shell. Another species, the boxer crab, this guy here, of Australia, holds anemones in each of its claws and, like boxing gloves, thrusts them at enemies. It may also use the anemones to stun prey. Okay, so that diagram, we read through and talked about what it meant, and better helped us understand the text because we could see, let me show you, we could see, when it was talking about how the different budding baby hydras, where they were, so we know how that worked, and we also could identify where the sting came from in the hydra there. What do you know about the hydra from the diagram? Okay, we did that. Where are the stinging tentacles located? We saw that there at the top. And where do the hydra buds grow? On the stem. Okay, looking at the next slide. So what we're going to do now as a class is we are going to identify the main idea of the passage as well as some supporting details. And then together, we're going to write a summary of those pages in Venom. I'm going to give you like 5 minutes to write your summary, maybe 10. And you're going to do that in your EL notebook. And then we will move on to our next task. So as far as the main idea and supporting detail of these pages or these sections, we know that anemones are animals that can sting. We know that some animals are safe from the sting of anemones because they have special coverings. But all these 2 pages were mostly about anemones and things that can be in the anemones. And then some supporting details were that anemones are animals that can sting their predators. I'm sorry. What was I thinking? Okay, so here's some supporting details. There's these strange relatives of coral look like flowers, but they're actual animals, and they can sting. Clownfishes feed. They live in the anemones, and they have a thick covering that keeps them from getting stung. The hermit crabs and the boxing crabs also don't get stung by the sea anemones. So those are some of the supporting details. So take those, write your summary. You have 5 minutes, pause the video, unpause when you're done. Okay, the last thing we're going to do today is we are going to take out our copy of Fight to Survive. If you would open your module workbook, you're going to flip backwards. Fight to Survive is on page 28. It's all the way through page 31. You, friends, are going to then move. You're going to have to flip back and forth between Fight to Survive and the graphic organizer that looks like this guy here on page 34. And we need to identify that main idea as well as 2 details that support the main idea. And then we need to write a summary of Fight to Survive. So as far as the main idea, The main idea in Fight to Survive is that animals have physical and behavioral defense mechanisms that allow them to survive. So you're going to need to record that in that top box right here of your graphic organizer on page 34. After you do that, unpause the video and then come back for some supporting details. So we need to have two details that support the main idea, and we need to have one about physical defense mechanisms and one about behavioral defense mechanisms. So if I'm thinking about physical defense mechanisms, I'm thinking about the tough exterior that is kind of like armor that some animals have. I'm thinking about how animals try to hide themselves, like the ostrich flops down in the sand and hides its neck in the sand. I'm thinking about external structures and internal structures that help them survive, like toxic fluid and bright colors. Okay, so I'm going to take some of those, I'm going to put it in a sentence or two as physical defense mechanisms. So pause, do that, and then come back when you're done. Then we need one more sentence that talks about defense mechanisms, behavioral defense mechanisms. Okay, like animals, they hide, they run, they travel in flocks or herds. Those are all behavioral defense mechanisms. Hiding, running, traveling together. So go ahead and give me some examples and write a sentence about that defense mechanism. Pause it. When you're done with your sentence or two, come back. Okay, now that you have written your main idea and supporting details in these two boxes, main idea, supporting details, you're going to write a short summary of Fight to Survive down here. You need to make sure to clearly state the main idea and include those supporting details that you wrote here. Make sure that it's in nice sentence form. You also need to make sure you include in the article Fight to Survive, or the article Fight to Survive is about, give me your main idea, give me your supporting details, and a nice closing sentence. Once you're done with that, friends, you are done with EL for the day. Way to go pushing through today.